Night Watchman.
It's the Soul Lounge Primetime show. Monday night, we're back.
That's right, 7 to 8. Mm-hmm. How was your week, buddy? Talk to me.
Watched the Oscars last night. That was interesting.
Any surprises for you?
Well, I was disappointed that Black Panther didn't win. Or Black Klansman.
Okay, was it your inner comic book fiend talking, or did you think it was that good a movie?
I thought it was a great movie. I thought it did something that was that hasn't been done before, which was to make a really full-balanced superhero movie, as evidenced by the awards won in the production design and in costume category. But it was a great script, and it had to meet all the expectations of fitting in the overall arcing storyline that was leading toward the Infinity War. It had to check a lot of boxes, and it did it with great style. Should have won the award. But
Well,
that's another conversation.
Well, definitely big ups to Mahershala Ali, and of course Regina King.
Oh, now I will pat myself on the back.
You did call it early.
I called it early.
Yeah, you did.
I called that one early.
And also, I got to give some major props to Ruth Carter.
Yes.
So big ups, because she had been doing it for a long time. And did you see her give some props to Spike?
Of course.
Yeah,
Spike put a lot of people in this game.
A lot of people, for sure. As a matter of fact, you saw the whole thing in terms of Samuel L.
Yes. That was funny, yes.
So, Night Watchman, I hear that we have some folks that have been with us before. Is that true?
They're back, but they caught us before when we were on the road, and this is the first time we've had a chance to invite them to our luxurious penthouse studios.
So in other words, we just gloss over any of the technical things that.
The champagne is flowing up here. Anything can happen.
The grapes are being peeled.
It's metaphorical champagne in case.
That's right. In case anyone's
Angela
listening.
Harden, general manager, if you're listening, it's
we love you, Angela. We
champagne.
love you. Yes, indeed.
Non-alcoholic.
That's right. So Night Watchman, who do we have?
Who do we have? We have Judy Tate and Messeret Stroman-Wheeler from the American Slavery Project. They have been working a lot. They've been working pretty hard since we left, because all of a sudden, boom, they're back with a whole nother slate of things we never talked about on the last show. It seemed it was only a couple of weeks ago. But bam. So welcome.
November.
And Night Watchman, I'm still trying to recover from the first one, man. Because I saw the work
Great
at
stuff.
National Black Theater. It was incredible. Okay, and just thinking about people, whole people having lives in before the founding of this country. So ladies, talk to us.
Well, it's so nice to be back here.
Yes, thank you guys for having us back.
Yeah.
Oh, you are more than welcome. Yes.
Yes. We have a whole lot of programming in store. We have 4 plays in a spring reading series at the National Black Theater.
4 plays?
That's right.
4 plays, but they're
Wow.
one night only. So you've got to come out and hear them.
ABCs, right?
The ABCs.
Easy as
It's called.
1, 2, 3.
African Americans from Bondage Through Crow.
All right.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
All of the
Okay.
performances will be at National Black Theater.
So you guys have made yourself at home there, huh? You came and it's like, okay, we kind of like this stage here.
Fortunate that way, huh?
Oh, yeah, we have been fortunate that way. They've got great spaces. Our first show is going to be Fugitive Slave Act by Michael Gene Sullivan, and that's going to be in the Temple space on March 4th.
I love that space.
Yeah, that's
Beautiful
a great space. On
yeah.
March 4th at 7 p.m. And we have 3 more after that. So you want to hear about the first one?
I want to hear about the
all
first
of them?
one. We're
Yes.
going to get to all of them
I was going to
tonight.
say the two, just the projects that we just finished. Did you want to lead in with that?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to talk about that? Messeret,
There
you got
were
something to
two
say?
projects that we just finished actually for Black History Month.
Okay.
And the first was Unheard Voices, which was at Judson Memorial Church.
Yes.
You guys saw it. But
Yes.
it was an abbreviated version of it. And believe it or not, in a church, we got standing ovations.
Wow.
They were very moved by the piece, and we were actually approached afterwards by several people to do work with them.
Nice.
And
nice.
then after that, we did...
We did, this is very interesting, you guys. It was a show called The Haunted Files at the Sheen Center. It was a collaboration between the American Slavery Project and the Sheen Center for Thought and Culture.
Where's that?
It is downtown 18 Bleecker Street, and we did 2 shows that were sold out, and they're talking about having us back for a limited run. And it is a collaboration between people who curated files, eugenics from the Eugenics Records Office.
Wow.
Now, you know about eugenics?
Yes, I do. Yes,
the
I do.
Pseudoscience underpinning Jim Crow laws.
We just have to prove that these guys are inferior.
That-
We must.
That's right. So we created a walk-through exhibit with actual posters and artifacts that you wouldn't believe. Some of those posters looked like they could be written in the White House today. Ooh,
45, you
slam.
listening?
Yeah. And then they saw a monologue that was written from the files. I found a person, a young woman named Hazel, and she was sterilized after she had 2 children, and she was considered unfit because she was immoral after having had a baby at 12. Well, you know, if you have a baby at 12, that doesn't have anything to do with you.
That's true.
That
That's
has to do
true.
with
That's true.
someone else
Yeah, correct.
and predatory behavior. So I wrote a monologue for her, and my partner wrote a monologue for one of the people in the eugenics office, one of the field workers. So that was a wonderful thing, and we hope to bring that back for you guys. But next Monday is very cool because Michael Gene Sullivan's Fugitive Slave Act is going to be performed at 7 p.m. And it is about the first and largest, at that time, rebellion after someone came north to retrieve their property in 1850. Because I don't know if your audience members know this, especially the younger people, but, you know, enslavement, even though it wasn't legal in northern states in 1850, they passed the Fugitive Slave Law, which allowed people from the South to come north and kidnap you back into bondage.
Right. With the flimsiest of legal paper.
Oh, yes, you know.
There was a slave named Joe.
right.
And they would literally go up to people on the street.
Is your name Joe?
Right. And even though Pennsylvania was a free state, it didn't stop Edward Gorsuch from coming up to try to kidnap William Parker.
You noticed that name, huh?
Gorsuch. Anybody notice the name Gorsuch?
Neil Gorsuch.
I wonder. You know, it was. Hey, you people who study genealogy out there, let's see.
Fall too far from the tree.
Yes.
So William Parker led a community of enslaved people, and instead of running into Canada, which most people typically did, he said, "No, I'm going to stay here and fight." And so that is what the Fugitive Slave Act is about.
And it was written, by Michael Gene Sullivan, who is a San Francisco Bay Area artist, multi-award winning artist.
Yep.
In 2015, he was awarded Stanford University's Equity Award for using his work to help achieve racial, gender, and age balance on stage. In 2016, he was honored by the Theater Bay Area as one of 40 stellar theater artist supporters and champions that have changed the face of the Bay Area theater. So we're very excited to have him. I mean, that's just 2 of the things that he's been recognized for.
Many
Yes,
awards.
Many.
He's
Wow.
a wonderful actor, a brilliant writer, and you'll hear that on Monday. And
March 4th.
March 4th,
Exactly.
7 p.m. March 4th.
Right. And actually being directed by Dennis Hilton Reed.
Yes, and we're going to have a talk back afterwards because
Wow.
you know part of what American Slavery Project's mission is really creating conversation in the community, and so we're going to have a talk back with Michael Gene Sullivan and a scholar, Lisa Merrill from Hofstra, who specializes in that era, and we're going to have some really good conversation. So come on out.
Absolutely. So, Night Watchman, you got the show next week, right?
I think that's supposed to be handled as some sort of random, like odds, or roll of the dice or something like that. But now all the shows on Monday nights at the same time as we do our show.
Yes.
You're killing us. then there needs to be a videotape of this.
Yes. Can people tune into your show after the fact? Can they hear it after the fact?
Yeah, but we can't do it after the fact.
Right, but you can't do it after the fact.
Right.
Well, you know what? We'll make sure that you see. We have photos and we'll videotape and we'll make sure that you
NightWatchman,
get to be
we
part
can
of
actually put a couple in the can. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yes, we will.
Figure something
Because
out.
each are very different.
Yes.
And it's only one Monday a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys can make that happen.
Yes.
Yeah, put it in the can.
We can. Yeah, we can do that, man.
Then we move forward. We move forward in time. So the April one, April 8th.
Is going to be, Monday, April 8th, 7 p.m. We know this, in the parlor. Written by our 4-time Emmy Award-winning writer, Judy Tate. Drum roll. And also, she's actually recently been nominated for a Sarah Vernon Writing Award.
All right.
Wow.
From LMCC.
Oh, great.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I was surprised. It was a really nice thing. I appreciated their recognizing me.
Very nice.
They support this work. They have a couple of grants that we apply for. One is the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone grant. And that's one of the reasons that we really like to work at National Black Theater, because we like money flowing into the community.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think it's really important. We
So
have
you
to
deal with
support.
Roosevelt? Roosevelt Verdery? No. Oh, okay. We'll talk later.
Okay, we'll talk
Sure.
later. I'm sorry, Roosevelt. But this is great because, you guys should come see this, because guess who's playing Mary Church Terrell in the parlor? Our very own Messeret Stroman-Wheeler.
Yes.
It's going to be directed by Diane Kirksey, who's a longtime theater actress and director. We're very excited about that. And it takes place in 1913.
Wow.
On the eve of that famous Women's March. You guys have all heard about the famous 1913 Women's March. They had movies about it, Iron-Jawed Angels, the white suffragettes. Alice Paul was organizing this. I bet you didn't know that black people were fighting for women's suffrage too. Black women.
No.
I knew, because black women fight for everything.
But guess what?
What?
Alice Paul did not want the black women to march in the women's parade.
I'm not surprised.
No, they didn't do that. They didn't exclude them.
Oh, yes, they did. And because you know what? I found the news article in the newspaper. I did.
She does research.
I do research.
Primary research.
Let me hear some of the language. Did they say Negro?
Well, yes, and that was very respectful back then. Actually, this back in 1913 was colored. We had to fight for the word Negro, and then we had to fight for the word Negro to be capitalized. Right? I mean, there are so many permutations. Yeah. But on the eve of the historic Women's March, 22 Alpha Kappa Alphas, AKAs, defected from AKAs and created the Deltas because they wanted to be more activist. They wanted to march in the Women's March. And a lot of people don't know this. Yes, this is AKA Delta history.
Okay.
And even though Nellie Quander, who was a teacher and from one of the most established families in Washington, D.C., even though she was the head of the AKAs, she supported the Deltas.
All right.
And got Alice Paul and Mary Church Terrell in a room together to negotiate this. And so the play is about that negotiation.
Wow.
Yes,
okay.
and we
The
can't
room
wait.
where it happens.
The room where it happens. And our very own Messeret Stroman-Wheeler is the woman who makes it happen in that room.
All right, so everybody listening knows at least one AKA and one Delta. We need to let them know that this is happening on Monday, April 8th.
Right.
I'm paying attention. Don't worry, I got you. Don't test me, baby. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can see that moving forward, right?
Yeah, right into Jim Crow.
Right.
You know, I think one of the things that she said was, "What is it, Messeret? There will be a colored march, or there will be a white march, or no march at all."
Exactly.
Wow.
But there was a march, and the Deltas marched in it.
All right.
Oh, spoiler alert! And then
we move on to Monday, May 6th, and we have Throw Pitchfork, which was written and performed by Alexander Thomas.
yes, it's a really, really intriguing piece. It's been done off Broadway. It's been done all over the world, and we are so fortunate to have Alexander come and do his piece for us here. It's another piece that starts during Jim Crow, but this is the examination of a young man for his self-identity, as he and his brothers were raised by an alcoholic father.
Wow.
And when he does research into his father's history, we discover that as a child, he was arrested and forced to work in the South on a chain gang.
Oh, my Lord.
He escaped the chain gang. I mean, this is just unbelievable, but it is a true story. And ran north. And so it is the legacy of our original sin and how that personally affects people. And this show is funny and moving and deeply personal, and so I really hope people come out to support Alexander Thomas on May 6th.
For sure.
Yes. And then the last one is Ode to Juneteenth. It's going to happen on June 17th, 7 p.m. And our good friend Godfrey Simmons is going to be performing a work by Eugene Lee,
Who was just in American Son, which was on Broadway with Kerry Washington.
Kerry Washington,
You know, you guys saw it, right?
Yes.
Standing room only.
Eugene Lee is not only an incredibly talented actor, but a really phenomenal writer. And I was so thrilled when he gave us permission to present Ode to Juneteenth.
Wow.
And, Emancipation Jones is going to talk to us. And, a lot of people always go, oh, Juneteenth, like everybody always knew. Everybody didn't know what Juneteenth was.
Nope, not at all.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So give me some crib notes. Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is the day that Texas found out 2 years after Emancipation Proclamation that they were free.
It's the ultimate better late than never.
Absolutely.
So I'm still out on the plantation doing what I do.
It's like,
That's right.
guys,
Haven't you heard?
we're free.
Right. They rolled up on a horse. Say, you guys, you don't have to work no more. Well, you got to work, but you get paid now.
Now, you and I probably would have been mad that why weren't you here 2 years ago? But they, instead of being mad, they celebrated because
That's-
better late than never.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
we are we fight, and we are also incredibly optimistic people.
Yes.
Right.
And
Totally forgiving.
And we just, but that's what keeps us moving forward and keeps us
Yeah.
alive and going, and we're going to have a party afterwards.
Right.
Yeah. So that's, Ode to
celebration.
Juneteenth it's not very long. So you come, you see a performance, and we're going to party. We're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate our Texas brethren having found out
Who invented barbecue?
who invented barbecue. Now, I don't know. Eugene and I used to have challenges over who had better barbecue, the Texans or the Chicagoans.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because I'm from Chicago. We like our barbecue.
I see.
So now, back up for a second, because I definitely do know barbecue is regional for sure.
I had never heard of Chicago barbecue.
Yeah. That
I'm
is-
living in a bubble.
I heard Kansas City.
Maybe you need to roll up with some packages next time.
You know what it is?
Before you start bragging
But you know
about
what
it.
it is? Everybody from Chicago's from the South.
That's right.
That's
Because
true.
all of her people are from Alabama.
Exactly.
Right?
But what makes it uniquely Chicago? Why is it not just transplanted Kansas City or Texas?
It could be. I don't know. But I tell you, when we went to the little barbecue shack, it wasn't even a place. Underneath, this had to be really dangerous. underneath the elevated railroad station on 47th Street.
Oh my God.
This guy had a fire going, and my dad would roll up in there, and we get our barbecue, and it was good.
Okay.
Man, oh, man.
It was. That's it.
Well, because it's you, Judy, we're going to investigate further. Everybody else, we would have been like, I don't know.
But
Any Chicagoans
And
out
you are,
there?
and you are a master storyteller, so we got to also factor that into consideration.
Exactly.
We on barbecue. In Jacksonville, we had great barbecue. Jenkins barbecue. It's
Has
like
anybody
everybody
heard of
goes
Jacksonville
home.
barbecue?
Yes, you have. Jenkins barbecue.
I'd love to say I did have, but
I think they both need to roll up here with some packages.
I'm telling you, people come home to Jacksonville, they go straight to get Jenkins barbecue.
Okay.
That makes me wonder
Now,
if
have-
everybody from every little city where we are,
yes.
they love their own city's barbecue and they think the whole world knows about it, but actually nobody does.
Nobody. So Messeret, the next
we have to
time,
have some barbecue.
yeah,
Right?
can you tell some folks to send ship some stuff right here?
I have some Jenkins barbecue sauce in my refrigerator. I had my mother send to me. We keep it in our refrigerator.
Okay.
Yes, we do. It's good.
Okay, I'm coming to
So
your house.
night watchman, she's going to take a picture of that later.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm actually trying to get an old friend of mine who's in that business and does smoked meats to maybe donate. What I think I'm going to do is package it by inviting him on the show. But you recall our good friend Ashbell?
Oh yeah.
Yes. So he's got a whole line of smoked meats now.
Well, I did not know this.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll have to have him on. And maybe we need to do a barbecue show once a month.
We're going to have to ask our Fugitive Slave Act cast, because there's a lot of people,
Okay.
what kind of barbecue they like.
Okay. All right.
Who are you going to ask, Messeret? Who are you going to ask?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Who do we start with?
Let's start
We got
Michael
Michael Early, and he's appeared on Law and Order, Damages, Royal Pains, Law and Order SVU.
Yep, he's playing the main character, William
Right.
Parker.
Not just as a body now.
No, not he's a well-renowned actor.
Yeah.
We'll find out what
Right.
kind of barbecue he likes.
Right. And then we'll move on to Biko Eisen Martin, who's worked at Studio Theater, Denver Sitter, Folger Theater, Crossroads.
Yay, Crossroads.
Yay!
Yeah.
Member,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Of Crossroads
Early
Theater.
member. Yeah.
Then we have our longtime member of American Slavery Project. She's worked with us for some years with Unheard Voices.
Yeah, you guys saw her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lynette R.
R.
Freeman.
Yes.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Absolutely.
And she just recently was in a play at EST where she did some very fine work. She's worked at Trinity Rep, Arkansas Rep, received Connecticut Theater Critics Award nomination for Best Actress.
And she can be seen all over New York stages. You guys know who she is.
Yeah.
And we'll find out what kind of barbecue she likes.
The next contestant, the next actor we have is Dawn L. Troop.
No vegans in there?
It might be.
there might be.
Ask.
We'll have to do some research.
We could still do some, vegan barbecue.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can have some of that
Right.
barbecue sauce on some tempeh.
There you go. Right? Or tofu, right? Well, Dawn, she's appeared in theaters across the country as well. Berkeley Rep, The Public, and in the spring she'll be in the Pan-Asian Theater's Brothers Paranormal.
Wonderful. Dawn L. Troop. She's really well renowned. You guys probably know who she is. She's been all over stages.
Then we have Leisha Julius. She's a graduate of SUNY Purchase Conservatory of Theater Arts and Film, and she was also in HBO's Random Acts of Flyness.
Oh, I like that show.
Yeah, that was right. She also is an accomplished musician. We've got a lot of talent in this show.
Yes. Those women are a chorus, just like a Greek chorus in the show. And they play 4 or 5 different characters each. And it's going to be a phenomenal listening experience. And we love to tell stories, do you know? And that's one of the reasons we do these reading series is because the very fundamental impulse. Besides eating, to stay alive, and all those things. But for a group is to tell your story,
right?
Do you know?
Right,
and that's what American Slavery Project is trying to do. We're trying to connect our seminal stories here in this country with what is going on today. There is a continuum. There's not, it's not separated. There's not a difference.
So
go ahead.
So when I referred to you as a master storyteller before, I wasn't just buttering you up for the pitch that I have for you later. But
he is.
But you come from the side of it where you have had a chance to see what happens on the theater side as well as what happens in TV and film. Tell me what you think about the current state of getting your voice out. We have a lot of new channels. We have Netflix. We have Amazon. We still have the same old channels, but there seem like we're getting some breakthroughs now in terms of more original stories and voices being heard.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. Actually, I'm excited about all of the people that Lena Waithe has supported. I'm excited about Lena Waithe's. Just her urgency, her willingness to just get it out there and and say her piece, and the way that she brings everybody else along. Also, Ava DuVernay.
Absolutely.
Years ago, when I was working in television, and I was working here in New York, and the only thing that was shot was daytime television. I could count on one hand the number of us across the United States that were working in television.
Wow.
And a couple of weeks ago, Lena Waithe had this picture of just the black female writers in L.A., and it was exciting and huge. And so, my TV class, I run the Harlem Dramatic Writers Workshop television section.
Where at?
We meet once a month at Columbia, on Columbia's campus.
Okay.
And those writers are putting together wonderful, wonderful scripts and stories, and there is no dearth of imagination. So I expect that this is going to be a long, long, wonderful... whatever, we're in some sort of revolution right now. So I'm expecting it to continue.
And so when you were talking about when you were working in it, and you talked about you could count it on one hand, were you talking behind the scenes or in front of the camera?
I'm talking about writing. I'm talking about writing scripts. I'm talking about television writing. There just were not that many, people of color writing television. Now, I wasn't in L.A. I was here in New York, but I knew almost everybody who was. And so even though there's a long way to go, in terms of diversity and inclusion and equity, I can't help but be opoptimistic, because we're just, we got stories to tell and we're marching forward.
Nice.
And it's good to see great showrunners, Shonda Rhimes, Kenya Harris. What's the name of the gentleman who ran the show for Luke Cage?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot because I'm
Shio something.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, but I know who you are. But all of those, it's exciting. I got to tell you, and I'm with you. I loved watching Wakanda.
Oh, man.
And I also loved Black Klansman. I thought, I'm glad it won for script because the script was powerful, really well structured. And when he edited in the Charlottesville, footage. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. Right,
this is history, but is it so far in the past, right? And that's his mission is our mission, all of our mission. Let's connect that past to the present. Oh, you were thinking about Chio Hodari Coker, who was the showrunner for Luke Cage. Yeah. First time he repelled those bullets, I was like, oh yeah. I had never been into superheroes before.
But his use of Harlem as a primary character. He really and to what these to see what he did because he was able to fit within the Marvel mini Netflix universe, which had Daredevil and Iron Fist and Jessica Jones. Yeah. But he created something that was uniquely Harlem and yet still fit in that overall story arc.
Yeah, and it's marvelous. That show is just marvelous.
It's not on there.
Well,
but you could always watch it on Netflix.
Well, what's happened is because Netflix and Disney are now facing off, so Netflix is pulling back all the Marvel shows that they had in anticipation that Disney is going to put them on their own streaming channel.
Oh.
So that's what's been happening. It really has nothing to do. I mean, as far as viewership, Luke Cage numbers were through the roof.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but they just don't want to keep feeding. Basically, they don't want to feed the competition because they know ultimately those properties are not going to be in their hands.
I see. Huh. Well, that's really interesting.
Well, Night Watchman.
So we are back in the studio with Messeret, Stroman-Wheeler, Judy, Tate from the American Slavery Project. We've been having way too much fun.
Too much fun, too. We're talking about barbecue, all that stuff.
Might be illegal, you know?
Yes.
How dare you have fun talking about the American Slavery Project?
I see somebody on their cell phone outside the studio trying to report us.
And here I am turning around to look.
Oh my God! So, Judy, one thing? Okay, so we certainly do know with oh God, Devil in the Blue Dress, author.
Walter Mosley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Okay, no. Now I'm thinking about God, Pittsburgh. 10 years, August. Thank you.
Wilson.
Oh Lord, is this happening more and more?
Yep.
Got your back.
Woo!
Crossing the wires.
I'm gonna start writing stuff on the body now. Watch out. Okay, so yours, of course, takes a couple of different periods in our arc.
Yes. What Walter Mosley. Well, he used colors in all of the names of his books, and August Wilson did the 10-year cycle, and that's a wonderful thing. An American Slavery Project is here to support African American writers who write about the era. So it's not just my writing. I happen to put writing in the shows, or I'll have one slot, if I have something appropriate. But I'm really there to support the other right, Messeret?
Yeah.
To support other writers who are telling stories that people don't necessarily know. And, we were talking earlier before we came in the studio, and I think it's real important for people to understand that this, I guess we talked about it a little bit, this isn't the past. The past lives in us right now. Everything you see happening, everything you see today in the newspaper has its beginnings. Its little tentacles are planted in our first experiences here. And so I believe that this period of, enslavement through Reconstruction and Jim Crow should be a genre. Because every time I turn around, there are more fascinating, incredible experiences. And I think that, and we exist so that we can direct our own storytelling. Do you know? And I think that's kind of, we were sort of talking around it a little bit earlier.
No, you brought it right back to, okay, so the central question last night was not just about Black Panther not winning, but about Green Book winning, and then about the discussion about what some people are calling these racial conciliation dramas. These dramas where, and I started reflecting on this and going back and realizing that this is a narrative that the Academy has supported for a while, because they've always loved to lean toward some of these types of stories where even when they are white-splaining racism, they cast a white hero to tell us about challenging racism.
Well, all I have to say to that is 89, the year that Driving Miss Daisy won, Do the Right Thing was released, right? And
that's why Spike was flipping
what
last
a
night.
Powerful movie that was, that really told the story of how it actually happens. And, and I don't want to... there are plenty of people, and Black people too, that see a friendship thing and go, I didn't consider it, I consider it a friendship movie. There are plenty of people who have a right to like Green Book. But one of the reasons we exist was, the year that we established ourselves, there were 3 main stage productions in New York of stories about this era, and none of them were written by African American writers. So I don't think that, white people don't get to tell a story about a certain era, but I think the extent to which we get cut out of our own storytelling is really, it has to be reckoned with.
Right, and it goes back to Kill a Mockingbird, which is a film that I never liked because the black guy still died in the end. So I wasn't never feeling it. But that film.
But they felt really good because the lawyer had tried.
Atticus, that's right.
Atticus tried.
So check this out. So that film was up for Best Picture. It didn't win. Gregory Peck won for Best Actor, however.
Correct, he did.
And the AFI in American Film Institute in, I believe, 2004, 2006, voted Atticus Finch as the greatest hero character in film in the 20th century.
Wow.
Well, if you read her prequel to that, you'll find out what a big racist Atticus Finch was.
See, she does primary research.
I do.
See the difference? See the difference.
That caused a bit of a buzz when they actually dug that out of the archives. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. It did.
So Mississippi Burning, A Dry White Season. I saw a great parody today called White Savior. It was done by Seth Meyers on The Late Show.
Okay.
And it's basically a parody of all the White Savior movies. And so I will send each one of you guys because it helped me to channel my feelings about last night and just made me laugh because everything I said, it literally displayed it in a way that was very comical but very searingly real.
Yeah, people think, we talked about, we're hopeful, right? We're hopeful people, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't mean that you can't put reality on the screen or on the stage.
Right.
And that's the problem. It's like, I think, I'm about to get, I'm about to get real here, but I think that for a long time and still, this country is very afraid of what happens when black folks get angry. Never mind that, Red Summer, which on Friday I'm actually going to hear a choral, the Downtown Brooklyn Choral Society is going to do a thing on, a piece on Red Summer, which was the summer of 1919 that white folks in this country lost their minds.
Oh, yes.
They burned down Tulsa, Oklahoma. They rioted in Chicago.
That was the highest number of lynchings.
That's right, the highest number of lynchings in 1919. Now, why don't we know? Why isn't that taught in every book? But if you hear riot and black people together, it's always how we riot. But
that's L.A.
We learn from the best.
I mean, the Tulsa riots is certainly one of the most buried pieces of American history.
Right, and absolutely. So those are the things, those are the stories we want to tell, and we want to tell them through authentic voices, voices that don't, pretend. There's certain things that if you have grown up in a community, there's certain things that you understand, and I think one of the things that the family of the pianist in the Green Book said, he never really was estranged from his family, and he never really was estranged from the black community. But it was Farrelly's, invention that he had never eaten fried chicken, or it's like, what? Just what?
Well, just making up stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? When he was growing up, I grew up a little bit. He learned to play the piano from someone who knew how to play the piano who was black.
Right.
Now that's not first source, so I could be wrong. Maybe somebody heard him, but I learned classical piano. I play classical piano, and Mrs. Millette, isn't that a great name for a piano teacher?
I love that.
Had a arts institute on the south side of Chicago. We were self-contained. The south side of Chicago, like many black communities in this country, were self-contained. All the doctors and the car dealers and the pharmacists and everybody was there.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got to do this. Judy, get that barbecue sauce off that piano.
That's right.
You just had to do it.
I will practice as soon as I finish licking my fingers, Mom.
Night Watchman, get us some towels. Come on, please.
That was the day before the handy wipes, right?
You got it. You got it.
Right.
So check out another book, White Fragility. Why it's so hard for white people to talk about racism.
Is that by that woman?
White woman.
Yes.
Yes.
She's a very good friend of mine who's black, and she's brilliant. That's a brilliant concept, and that answers your question about. Of course, people want to feel good and they want to have reconciliation and all that. But okay, a white friend of mine said to me, "Have you seen Green Book?" And this is before I'd seen it. And I said, I lived Green Book. I don't need to see Green Book. But I did end up seeing it. And, for her, it was eye-opening and, cathartic. And, and I don't want to take that away from her. But we need stories to be told and put out there for the entire society, like Black Klansmen.
Right.
And
where we retain our own agency in the story, because we know story dynamics. Everyone writes the story and they write themselves as the hero. So you always have that point of view, and we don't mind that it's the other point of view because we're used to it by now, but we have to have some where it's from our point of view, and that's what Black Panther had pulled off.
Right.
And to do that within the Marvel universe, I have to give Kevin Feige and his team at Marvel Studios, they deserve a lot of credit. Nate Moore, who a lot of people don't know, but he's part of that executive team. And
so back up. Which Nate Moore? Not the same one who did, now I'm thinking about the one during slavery, got into trouble.
No, not the same
Oh,
name.
no, that's Parker.
Thank you.
Right.
You're right.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
But they gave them the room to do the film they needed to do. And what they brought in was not compromised. They didn't compromise the characters. In fact, Kevin Feige talked about in an interview, when did he know it was going to be a cultural phenomenon? And he said when he read the first reading of the script and he got to the line about bury me in the ocean with my ancestors. And he's like, okay, we have something here. Right. And when he sat down with Coogler said, that's the line I thought you were going to tell me to cut out.
Right, and that was the line that he...
No, keep that. And so when he was able to get that kind of support for the script, it was like letting the hounds loose, because he was able to feel this great, diverse team and let everybody just run in your lane. Bring your excellence to this. Yeah. And everybody did, and it just was reflected in on the screen.
And I don't want to seem, I don't want to sit up here and seem like, oh, I've Green Book bashed. I'm not, because it isn't the pianist's story. It's the driver's book and the driver's story, and he gets to tell that story.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Because the driver did that was the original source material.
Right.
The issue, I think, is that we know that that's a story that is more likely to get green lit in Hollywood. And so I have no issue with Viggo Mortensen. I got no issue with Mahershala.
I love Mahershala.
And I have no issue with the writer, because he told his story. That's what writers do. But I think what we're saying that within the context of the business, those stories get rushed to the front of the line.
Right, exactly. I'm glad you clarified that, so that people don't think we're just bashing
I think
the winner.
We're trying to have a nuanced conversation, which we're fortunate to be able to have this forum where we can have nuanced conversation, not what goes on Facebook where it's like, oh, good. Oh, bad. I hate it. I love it.
Well, you're right on target. I agree.
I want to find out. So one of my all-time favorite television series, of course, you know this, is
The Wire. Yes.
Okay. Did they have any black writers on The Wire? I certainly know that. the actors and everything. Yeah,
I don't know. Yes, actually, I know that my friend Kia Corthron wrote one of the scripts for the 4th season that focused on the kids.
No, the kids.
The kids
loved
went,
it.
The
loved
kids
it.
that
Yes.
went to the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So she wrote the script for that, and it was really funny because I was in another room and I went, "Oh, that sounds like Kia's writing," because she has a very particular way of writing dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that she had written that script. So they did bring in, and I can't remember off the top of my head who else. I remember that, of course, because we have a relationship.
Gotcha. And that was real. That was, in terms.
And he was a journalist.
Yeah.
He was a journalist and had really spent time on that beat. Mm-hmm. But this is the age of everybody has something to say. So everybody got something to say about something. There are people who are like, I can't stand The Wire. And the other people are like, The Wire was the best thing ever to be produced in television. So
well,
true.
It was nuanced writing. And it's like a good meal when you have layers of flavor in it. That's what we get when writers are allowed to develop characters and not just put in two-dimensional stereotypes, but put them and everything doesn't go according to the plan, and you see depth and dimension and flaws and dynamics between them.
And I think what people were saying was, up until that point, if you saw a drug dealer on TV, they had no depth, they had no life outside of being on the corner. And these characters were living full 3-dimensional lives with complications, and for television, that was a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, look, speak of characters.
Yeah. You got to get us back to our upcoming show.
Yeah, the rest of the actors that round out this cast. We have Peter Apel, David Fierro, Trey Blackburn, John Ford Dunker, and Robert Beatty.
So how big is our cast, Messeret?
We've got 10 actors in this cast.
Wow, playing like 25, 30 people. It's really amazing. Yeah.
That's why they call it a project.
That's right. It is a project. I don't know how Michael Gene Sullivan did it, because it's such a lean, clear, beautifully rendered story. And how he managed to do that was just phenomenal. So y'all come out on March 4th, 7 p.m., National Black Theater, the Temple Space, and hear Fugitive Slave Act. Yes.
Well, we've been having, like I said, way too much fun.
No, we have been having fun.
So, Night Watchman, no doubt, I guess, they'll be back.
They got to be back. I don't see how we could not have them back.
And they'll be barbecue and champagne? Is that what
exactly. Metaphorically
They're only coming back to that. Okay.
The barbecue better be real.
We could actually serve it right in the green room.
That's
okay?
right. That's right. Yes.
So, Night Watchman.
Time to wrap this thing up.
We're getting ready for the Harlem
DJ
Dance
Soul of
Party.
Adam is in the house.
He's in the house doing his thing. So we'll get ready. You want to take us out?
Let's see. I got a little something. Did I put it on here? Okay. Yeah, I got something.
And ladies, before you go, if one wants to learn about it, you have the website?
www.americanslaveryproject.org. You can get all the information there, all the tickets there, and you can sign up for our mailing list, and I'll send you really cool event notices.
Wow.
So bring me up, brother.
Soul Lounge Primetime. We are out of here.